At the vertebral column, pointing out the four curves of the adult vertebral column, we have the cervical curve, which is up here. This is the first curve. It's not as curved as it should be. I think I might have bent the rod. So that's supposed to curve like this, pretty much. And then we have the thoracic curve, which is the back right here. And then we have back, and then lumbar curve, which is the one that comes inwards towards your stomach. So lumbar curve goes inwards, back here. And then your sacral curve, which is the sacrum area, so that's the most obvious one. The two primary ones are the thoracic, so the second curve down, that's going outwards, backwards I guess you could say, and then the sacral, which is also going outwards too. And the secondary ones are the leftovers, which are the cervical and lumbar, so they pop out anteriorly, you could say. There are 7 cervical vertebrae. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The top one is the atlas, which, with the axis, forms the joint connecting the skull and the spine, which allows head movement. Oh, you want me to demonstrate with my head? So yes, nodding and move. So you can move it around. So that's because of the atlas. Okay. No, sorry, I wanted one of that. What is unique about the transverse process of all cervical vertebrae compared to this? Okay, I had to do some research to see what was up with this question. What is the unique about the transverse processes of all the cervical vertebrae compared to those of the thoracic and lumbar vertebrae? Well, from observation, you can see that these have holes in them, most likely for attachment, compared to these, which are attached to your ribs. They don't have any holes. Also, these seem to be all different shapes and sizes as they go up higher. It starts off big and gets a little bit smaller, but actually gets a little bit bigger when it hits the atlas. So I guess what's unique about them is that they have holes and they allow for either nerves or ligaments to pass through. Probably arteries as well, or not arteries, but veins actually. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae, and that would be starting below your cervical, going down to here where your last rib would meet. You have your spinous processes, spinous processes, all poking out posteriorly to the body. You have transverse processes, which are all, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see, right here, connecting to the rib cages. They also appear on the other side. The invertebral foramen, I actually tried taking the skeleton apart so I could pull out one of these spines and show you. Be easier to do this part. But inside here, there's a hole that goes all, there's holes that go all the way through that allow like spinal nerves and veins and whatnot to just go through there. So I guess from up top, I could show you. It's not logical, but this opening within the spine. Let's see. Each spinal nerve, dorsal root ganglion, the spinal artery, the segmental artery, communicating veins between the internal and external plexuses, recurrent meningeal nerves, and foraminal nerves or ligaments. That's the list that they said was in here. So a lot of nerves, and important, surrounded by cerebral spinal fluid and whatnot. So very protected. Nothing gets in there. Body or centrum. So coming around, it'd be here, these thick pieces, and then in between are the discs. So it'd be these. I'm sorry for the lighting in the background. I wasn't expecting to turn this guy around right here. So there we go. These would be the vertebral discs between them that keep the bone from smashing against each other and hurting each other. These can rupture sometimes and cause a lot of problems, especially when you're older, but whatever. Yeah, position of the invertible discs, that's already done. And lumbar vertebrae. So it's below thoracic, and we're talking about 5. So I believe it starts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's your lumbar. The sacrum is here, and it is 5 fused together. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have the coccyx, which is here. Typically breaks on most people and fall on their butt. Sternum. Alright. The manubrium is here. Looking at the skull, here's the skeleton, so the sternum's in the front. Manubrium. The body. Xiphoid process below, where you have to avoid when you do CPR, or else you can puncture their internal organs. And jugular notch at the top. Right there. Just focusing in. This is pointing out the true and the false ribs. The true ribs begin at the first and foremost one at the top and come all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1 through 7. And the false ribs are the last 4. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, and Mr. 4 is back here. If you can see. Apologize again for the lighting. It's hard to keep it all going. So yes, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are all false. The head and neck and the floating ribs. Yes, these are the floating ribs. They're not connected to the rib cage technically. They're just hanging out there. They're connected to the vertebrae in the back, but they're just hanging there. So the head, neck, and tubercle of a rib explain how ribs articulate with their vertebrae. When it comes to the skeleton, you're not going to get a good example of a tubercle because nothing sticks out here. It's just the simple rib. This thing wasn't fantastic. The neck, which is here, we're talking about the lower part, but the video cut off, so the last part would be the head connected to the rib along with the vertebrae, and that one, along with the neck, and the tubercle, which is actually attached with ligaments to the transverse costal facet onto the rib. So that's what the articulation is. Sorry for the last second.